Commenting to let others know behavior medication is not as scary as it sounds at first. It's incredible to see your dog suddenly be able to think and process information, developing healthy coping skills. I just wanted to use this comment to talk a bit about the impact that behavior medication can have on our dogs. Because I specialize in working with dysregulated dogs and aggressive behavior, many of my clients are on behavior medications. I would say the vast majority of my clients are on behavior medications. And that's because when we have a dog who has an anxiety disorder, a trauma disorder, who's experiencing hyperarousal or hypoarousal, or they've been experiencing chronic stress, that is a physical health issue. And then on top of that, we do often see with behavior cases that the dog also has underlying physical health issues that are also impacting how the brain processes information, how the dog is able to handle stress, the associations that they're making. So behavior medication is considered a first line of defense, and unfortunately, a lot of folks believe that it is meant to be a last resort. But behavior medication should be used as a first line of defense. And what it should do for the dog is a really nice complement to our behavior therapy work. So if the three pillars of behavior therapy are that holistic stress reduction, the ability to self-regulate, and building resilience to stress, behavior medication helps us with exactly those goals. It helps to lower that baseline stress level so that our learner is working from a place where they can most effectively and efficiently process information, where their body knows that they are safe, so they can do things like learn new things, create positive associations. They're not chronically spending resources on trying to cope with stress or gearing up for a survival response or being in a survival response. And that's not the same as the dog being sedated. There's a lot of misconception out there that behavior medication sedates the dog, but a maintenance medication that is a good fit for the dog does not sedate them. In fact, we often see that behavior medication, along with behavior therapy, supports the dog in being able to do more. Their world gets bigger. And not only can their world get bigger, but also they have more capacity to engage in fun things. One of the things that we'll see as we get those baseline stress levels down is that all of a sudden the dog has the capacity to engage in fun activities that before they couldn't because they were using those resources on survival. Often my clients are already on behavior medication, or they start behavior medication towards the beginning of our work together. But sometimes I have cases where, for whatever reason, that is delayed. And it might be that we are fully waiting to get in with a veterinary behaviorist, and they are booking a ways out. It could be that there are comorbid health issues that we need to address before we can start the dog on a medication. It could be that we did start on a medication, but it was not the right medication, and so we are coming off of that medication to try a different one. Because again, if the result isn't that the dog is living a better life, then that's not the medication for us. That's not doing what we want it to do. And so sometimes we see not necessarily even that there have been negative effects from the medication, but that it's just not working as well as we might hope for it to. And so we might, in that process, try a different behavior medication. And what's really interesting is that with those dogs, when they start behavior medication, several months into our work, because it also takes, generally, depending on the medication, it usually takes about 4 to 8 weeks to see the full effect of the medication. So this is a process. And so if we're starting, a couple of months out from our start of behavior therapy, that might actually put us 4 months out from the start by the time the medication is fully taking effect, or sometimes longer, again, if we're working through some other health issues first and trying to see what different medications for physical health issues do first, or if we're on that longer wait list. And it's so interesting because it's not just that those dogs start learning better from that point on, but you can actually see them better access what they have already learned. And so there's often this really big jump forward at that point, because now the stress levels are lowered enough that the dog can access the coping skills that we have been trying to support them with. They have been at this stuck state on the stress scale, and maybe we've been effectively bringing them down, but it's slower going. And that's because, again, we're working at a disadvantage. We're working with a dog whose baseline stress levels are higher than ideal. They're not just working with their triggers, they're battling an anxiety disorder. And so in the same way that medications for mental health can be life-saving for humans, and they make any work that we're doing, like in therapy, in our relationships, in living our lives more effective, the same is true for our dogs.